Meredith Village Savings is?
That's not that
Was
one.
a diner.
It's 5 o'clock.
Gas pumps.
I'm gonna
Save it, Neil.
save it for later, Mr. Neal. With that, you can lead us.
Allegiance to the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Some minutes to review.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the May 22nd, 2023 regular meeting minutes.
I guess I could second.
You-
Second.
We're absent.
I was.
I guess you could second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Abstain.
One abstention. Okay. Announcements.
There she is.
Marianne.
You need your,
On time.
oops.
Thank you.
You need your,
Got nothing
Thing.
on?
Their name tag on the desk. The Select Board will meet on the following dates at 5 p.m. Monday, June 26th, Monday, July 10th, and July 24th. On June 26th, I'm going to have to be in by Zoom because I will have to be in Atlanta that week. You want to run the meeting and I will still attend?
sure.
To be here. That does conflict that night with the LRPC thing. Were you planning to attend this for LRPC?
Oh, yeah. Oh, so I paid my $50.
I'm on vacation that week, so
I'll tell you, I'll
we'll
blow
need
off
you to
Lake's
be.
Region.
Oh, no, I guess because you're still there, so.
No, I don't think I count for a quorum. remotely.
Well, with a, yeah, ultimately you probably would, but not, I guess, on the current law. But there's a change afoot. Well, 3 members. This is still stuck on 3 members for some stupid reason. You have to have 3 members at the site.
3 members physically present.
I'll be
So-
physically present.
If you're gonna skip and go to the LRPC thing, then we'll need a new date.
I could blow it off. I'm not that gung ho to go into it anyway. So,
Okay.
and you're going to be there, right?
Here?
No.
You're gonna go to the LRPC?
No.
You're gonna be here.
John,
I haven't gone to
John
any of
Christ
the
will be there.
LRPC.
John, because it's their annual meeting.
Yeah, probably Joseph will be in the,
Joseph and John, hopefully.
And John, yeah.
and John, yeah.
All right, it's covered.
If it's covered, we'll meet, but I'll be
Remote.
on Zoom. Okay, so those are dates. Citizens wishing to be listed on the Select Board's agenda should notify the Town Hall before 12 p.m. the Thursday before the scheduled meeting. All meetings will be held upstairs in Town Hall and will be held by Zoom. Zoom information can be found on the town's website at plymouth-nh.org. All town offices will be closed on Tuesday, July 4th, in observance of Independence Day. So that takes us to Chairman's comments, Selectmen, strategic priority discussion. We up for that discussion?
We did not make additional copies unless Scott has them.
Copies.
He's got them.
Okay, good.
Good. At least Scott's got us covered.
I actually found mine.
I forgot to bring it.
carries us very well.
So I'm glad Scott made copies. Otherwise I'd be in trouble.
If I can just kind of give an opening.
Yeah,
to it
that'd be
of
fantastic.
how I developed these, and Ann assisted with those. But in preparing the strategic priorities, I attempted to align the priorities with a few important topics. Those are financial management as outlined in the capital improvement guidelines on why to prepare a CIP, preserving public health, safety, and welfare, which addresses the health and public safety and the strategic priorities, improving communication and coordination, which is included under enhanced community engagement, avoiding undue tax increases, which is covered under the financial and economic stability piece, building a foundation for growth and capital cost, supporting economic development under the community development strategic priority, also to improve organizational effectiveness and financial economic stability. And what I what I've done with that is really started to put together our budget vision going into 24 and 25, which is to continue to build trust and produce better financial and operational outcomes, truth and transparency, earn trust with integrity, approachability, being easy to deal with, meet and answer questions, diversity of thought, innovation, thinking outside the box, agile learning, change and continuous improvement, workforce culture, taking care of staff, retention in the community, always recognizing shifting priorities amongst departments of what those need to be, and service that creates value. The last piece that we'll be discussing at the department head meeting, which falls in line with the strategic priorities, is responsible budgeting and accountability control, justification for what, when, and how, efficiency control, being able to spend the same or less to achieve same or greater outputs, and economic control, managing expenditures and revenues. And the last piece that you'll find in the strategic priorities talks about community partnerships with Plymouth schools, the business community, Plymouth State University, and the nonprofit tax-exempt property owners that we have in town. So I really tried to take all the different pieces that we've discussed since last November when I took on as town manager and tried to encumber those into strategic priorities for the board moving forward for the remainder of 23 into 24.
I'm not sure where this is. So, great summary, thank you. I'm not sure where this is in the doc necessarily, but we've talked a bunch, and well, we did the study last year about some of the like roads infrastructure kind of work as a priority. You know, getting our roads up to speed. Starting to get back on a plan where we're not falling behind on the road maintenance, but we're starting to have better roads in town with a plan to get everything back on track. I don't know where that, I don't think that's explicitly called out here, but should it be?
I'd like to see it called out.
Well, is it really meant to, at a detail level, deliverables?
But these are
Well, I
strategic
wouldn't-
priorities.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily list the specific roads, but I think
Okay.
at least from my perspective, it's a priority to get back on
Sure.
track with our roads. I would love to get to a point where we eventually are maintaining our roads such that we have no Emersons in town, right? We don't have any roads that we all look at
Going on
each,
your side.
right? That we all look at each other and roll our eyes and say like, we know that road is
Right.
terrible.
I think it's covered a little bit under financial and economic stability because it talks about sustainable operations into the future, and it's really kind of broadly stated, but I can call that out more in that and have it financial, economic, and infrastructure stability.
Yeah,
And call it out a little bit more so it specifically talks about the
infrastructure, yeah.
versus just broadly as it states there.
I think that makes sense. Is the community, so I just, we say community in here 3 times. So we have a section for enhanced community engagement.
Mm-hmm.
We have a section for community development, and then we have a section for community partnerships.
Yep.
Are these all distinct things?
What I tried to do was surround the strategic priorities around the Plymouth community. So based on economic development, on projects we'll be working with Plymouth State University on, which really kind of falls under the community development piece. Enhanced community engagement, how can we better serve and communicate effectively with
Okay,
the
so the
community?
engagement one is service and communication.
Right.
Community development, and the reason it's not just economic is because also we're talking about like the housing project, which is not which is not economic necessarily. It relates to the economics, but, okay. And then, okay, and the partnerships is about schools and neighboring communities. Okay. Anything else that's missing from anybody's perspective?
Oh, you hear a voice.
Neil?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Does this seem like the right list of things? Anything here that we think is either overrepresented or not a priority? Okay. Good. So I think the only note is really about adding, at least in my mind, adding a little bit more explicit call out for infrastructure on the financial and economic stability line item, but otherwise this feels,
Yeah, agreed.
It's very good.
I will update that section to include infrastructure, to include roads, sidewalks, culverts, et cetera.
cool. Looks like there's a consensus of the board that this is our strategic priority list.
Yep. I like it.
Yes. Great. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
All right, on to the town manager's report.
Sure.
You have a public hearing.
My report for tonight starts with Memorial Day Parade and Ceremony. I want to express my sincere appreciation to Kelsey Bowden from the Recreation Department for her advanced planning on the Memorial Day events, which made the event such a success. Kelsey's efforts in planning the parade and ceremony at Town Hall have attracted a great deal of attention and praise. A big thank you to Select Board member Bill Bolton for leading the ceremony at Town Hall, Captain Sean Boyle for his presentation, and Kate Donahue for the reading of her poem. Happy to announce that we have hired an assistant to the town clerk. Happy to announce that we've hired Amy Lee of Plymouth for this position. Amy is a resident of Plymouth and is very excited to get started. Amy has an extensive background in customer service. It is Amy's intention to file for the position of town clerk for the March election of 2024. In addition to the assistance of the town clerk, Amy will be helping out with the planning department to assist Joseph with some administrative tasks. Amy's first day will be Monday, June 19th, next Monday. And with regards to Dawn is effectively retiring this Friday, June 16th. So we're happy to have Amy coming aboard to assist us.
Just to clarify, so Aaron is currently operating as the interim town clerk.
Correct.
And so we've hired Amy as assistant, and then we believe she will run for election for the full town clerk position.
Correct.
Next year.
And it was nice to have Aaron involved in the interview process to make sure Amy and Aaron had connected and been able to have some conversations. So,
Yeah, that's great. How many candidates did we have?
one.
Oh, okay.
So why Amy helping with Joseph? Is that going to continue?
It will continue, whereas June's really taken a backseat role and working less than 10 hours a week. Joseph needs some assistance with regards to minutes and notices of decision and things like that, so he can focus more on the issues that are coming in front of the planning board. So it will break his time up a little bit and give him more time to focus on the cases that are coming forth.
So will that continue to be the assistant to the town clerk's role as well?
Not at all.
Okay.
So that's just a temporary thing for now?
Temporary.
I hope she organizes Joseph's office. It's just a mess.
Yeah, right. Welfare report. During the month of May, Mary Ann handled and facilitated 24 cases of individuals in need of assistance. The FEMA December 22 storm. Ann and I had a call with FEMA representative in regards to the December 22 storm and damages submitted. And Joe and I have a follow-up meeting on Tuesday, June 13th, tomorrow, to review the damages submitted and provide any additional information requested. Housing Opportunity Program, the second public meeting was held on Wednesday, June 7th. There were approximately 35 attendees. There were a number of topics discussed to include community engagement, takeaways, Plymouth zoning basics, housing terminology, and relevance to Plymouth. Open stations were available for participants could track their opinion, including visual mapping survey, mapping future potential housing, master plan recommendations, and revisiting Plymouth zoning and what is affordable and to whom. Peace Public Library
I'm gonna pause
update
you,
on May 23rd.
I'm going to pause you for a second so that we can interrupt for
Sure.
the public hearing. So we'll come back to you as soon as that's closed. 5:15, I'm opening a public hearing. This is a public hearing on proposed amendments to the fees for permits issued by the Plymouth Highway Department as follows. Trench/excavation permits, current price is $50, proposed increase to $100. Driveway permits, current price $25, proposed increase to $60. Temporary driveway permits for logging operations, current price $25, with an increase to $30. Scott or Joe, do one of you want to
Joe's
introduce?
going to give a presentation.
Oh, perfect.
So the biggest thing is, the more that we get tuned into the town, there's a lot more goes into these permits and time consuming. A lot of them are 2 or 3 visits, and like your trench permits, you hold a bond, and so there's work with that, and a lot of this, there's some, checks, and so there's some work on both ends to deal with all that stuff. So I compared all the rates to surrounding towns and further out, like Laconia and Franklin, and I set the rates at a, I didn't go out of my way to break the bank. I put them where they should be, and there are a lot of towns that are a lot higher than the rates that I set. But I think this is a good start in helping us get to be where we need, because, everything has gone up, and there's a lot of time involved in these permits, and so it's a good asset for the town to be rewarded for it.
How did you select these specific rates?
Well, the rates that we had, then we went to the surrounding towns and looked at all their policies and permits, and that's what I based it on. And so there's a printout sheet that shows it here. So.
Will these new permits, fees cover the cost of the time it takes to do the work from our side, or?
Yes, for the time being, I mean, it brings us up to where we need to be. We did like 28 driveway permits in from July to July, and, you take three visits, and then, your trench permits, you have to monitor them year round, and people with temporary permits, you have to make sure that they don't try to turn them into a permanent driveway, and it just goes on. You just have to stay on top of all of it. And then the whole goal of those permits are to make sure that the water doesn't run into the road. So that's part of my permit, is to make them, and the contractors, see that part of the permit.
When was the last time we raised these permit prices?
Not since I've been here, 30 years.
I think it's in line with what we've done from the building and code perspective, as well as the fire department perspective, in raising the fees with the amount of time and the complexity of what has to be looked at today. I think Joe's right in line with what his research has provided to us on what other towns charge, as well as the time that it takes him to facilitate reviewing the permit, reviewing the site, talking to the contractor, coming back, making any suggestions or edits to the plan, and then moving forward with the permit. I think it's very reasonable for what he's proposed.
And so do we have estimated times of how much time it usually takes us for each of these permits?
Yeah, I mean, so an average permit, it's an hour and a half, depending on how far I have to travel in time, and then, you know, you times it times 2 or 3, or a lot of times you spend time on the phone with people. So, you know, they have a lot of questions.
So we're able to do a temporary driveway permit in under an hour of time?
That usually spoils at least an hour, if not an hour and a half.
Because I'm just thinking $30 is, I mean, an hour of your time is more than $30.
Yeah, I mean, but like I said, I mean, temporary is different. There's not as much involved as a regular driveway permit.
So you're able to do that in under an hour?
Yeah, pretty close to under an hour. Yeah, so.
It's just a one-time visit.
Yep, for a temporary.
And Joe, excuse my not knowing, what is a trench permit typically for?
So when a contractor digs in a road, like through
okay.
the asphalt,
Okay,
so
get it.
when they're done, they have to put it back and you know, you have to go through the safety process too of having open trenches and permitting, and then you hold a bond for up to 2 years. So if there's any settlement, that you contact them and they come back and they fix it.
Gotcha. Thanks.
You're familiar with that, right?
I am. Yes.
I've never run into it before, so.
All right. Any other questions for Joe from the board? Any questions or comments from the public?
Seems fair and reasonable.
All right. General support from those who are here. With that, I will close the public hearing. 5:22. Any more discussion amongst the board on these new fee?
We need a motion to approve them.
We sure do.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the proposed fee schedule for the trench excavations at $100, driveway permits at $60, and temporary driveways and for logging operations at $30.
Second.
Any discussion? Is this form new as well, or is this basically the exact same form with just the dollars updated?
Form's the same.
I didn't see the forms.
Yeah, they were.
I just
they're
noticed that it was
Attached.
attached.
I didn't hear the question.
Is there any change to this form, or is it just the prices?
Just the price.
Just the prices. So the forms, there's no actual.
We updated all the forms like a year and a half ago.
Okay,
Just that part of it.
perfect. All right. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Thanks, Joe. All right, Scott, I will hand it back to you.
East Public Library.
Pease Public Library.
On May 23rd, I met with the Pease Public Library trustees for a library interview. An applicant had come in. Unfortunately, the candidate decided not to take the position. The librarian position has been reposted. Pease Public Library trustee Doug Grant has resigned from the position of trustee, and you will have in front of you tonight an appointment for Quentin Blaine to being asked to be appointed as a permanent trustee. The Katy Conference, the annual Katy Conference, was held on Friday, May 26th at the Merrill Place at Plymouth State University campus. The conference was very well attended. It is my honor to inform you that the Plymouth Police Department was the recipient of the 2023 Caddy Community Partner Award. Deputy Chief Buffington and Chief Hutchins accepted the award this year at the Prevention Summit. The Police Department received the award due to the following. And it stated that Katie's statement in regards to the award, your contributions are significant in making a difference every day to Caddy in our community. Your collaboration spirit, partnerships on restorative justice, participation in mini golf tournaments, service on the Central New Hampshire Opioid Response Consortium, sponsorship of the Drug Take Back Program events, and leadership in support of the youth substance abuse prevention are not only protecting our community from harm, you are preventing addiction and saving lives. This award is presented to a community partner that has gone above and beyond in the collaboration with Caddy to fight the war on substance abuse. So it was very nice to see that our police department was recognized for their efforts on the drug wars that each and every community throughout the state of New Hampshire faces today.
Scott, can I ask a question about Pease? Sorry. The candidate, do we know why they didn't accept the offer?
One was from New Jersey,
Okay.
and unfortunately, after she was interviewed, she became very ill and has been hospitalized. The second candidate was from the state of Texas, and after discussing it with her husband, they decided they could not afford to make the move and come to New Hampshire. So those were the two last candidates that we interviewed.
Okay, thanks.
Capital Improvement Plan Committee. The committee met on Thursday, June 8th at Town Hall. Members of the committee include Zach Tyrell, Select Board Chairperson, Susie Woods, Planning Board and Advisory Budget Committee member, Matt Yetton, Planning Board member, Mark Halloran, Advisory Budget Committee, Mike Courier, Advisory Budget Committee, Ann Hebert, Finance Director, and Joseph Perez, Community Planner, and June Hammond-Rowan, Planning Department, and myself as Town Manager. We reviewed RSA 674-8 capital improvement programs, the adoption of the capital improvement program for budget years 23-24, and the capital improvements handbook. We discussed the next steps and meeting schedule, which Ann will talk a little bit when she goes into the budget tonight about
Okay.
moving the capital improvement program forward for the 24-25 budget season.
Did they set a time for the next meeting?
Joseph is setting a date for the first week of October, if I'm not mistaken, correct, Ann?
That's right.
It's first week of October.
First part of October.
Oh, okay. So the CIP is not going to do any work in between now and then?
They're going to be working with the departments to get some information back with regards to what their requests are and any updates needed.
Okay, so October is their first meeting with us?
That's correct.
Do you know when the actual CIP meets next? Because I'm on that group. I wasn't there on the 8th.
We're not meeting again until the beginning of October. We're letting the departments go through.
Oh, so CIP is not meeting with the departments this time?
We are if we need to, but not until after October 2nd. The departments need to go through and update all their figures and the fifth year because this year dropped
Right,
off.
we have to add the 5th year.
And then, once that gets going and they go through and update that, they're working on their budget at the same time.
Okay.
So it's gonna be a little bit before we get to that.
Oh, okay. Okay, so the CIP group's not going to help the departments facilitate that at all?
We'll meet with them after, see what it is that they want, and if any decisions need to be made at that time or changes, then we may do that. But it won't be until after
Okay.
they go through and work on that.
Thank you.
Plymouth State University update. I'll meet with Jessica Dutile on Monday, June 19th. The cluster project, same status, just waiting for the professors to be selected. The next topic is a topic we've discussed a few times, and that's the Life Safety Services Agreement with Plymouth State University. I did meet with Tracy Claiborne on May 19th. I took back all of the messages that I received from the board and trying to facilitate a greater financial amount of money to come back to the town. And like I said, I did push back and did try to have that conversation, but they are standing their ground at the $400,000. But also keeping in mind that last year, their contribution to the town in cash payment was $542,781 when you figure in the special details, the pirate party that was invoiced, the fire department details, and the amount that they paid to Plymouth Dispatch. I will say, since talking with Tracy on May 19th, we were able to enter into a memorandum of understanding for the 2 parking lots out here on Court Street during the summer months while construction is taking place, as well as we were able to negotiate in the continuing education credits for town employees at no cost. We don't know how many credits that will be a year yet, depending on the amount of employees that want to take advantage of that program. And then the third thing is, which I didn't realize, is that they have a print shop on campus that they're willing to embroider and print all of our apparel that the town has, whether it's police, fire, public works, park and recreation, at no cost. We would have to supply the garments, but they would do that at no cost for us during the school year, as it's a program that they have on campus now. So with that being said, I would look for your next steps of guidance. I believe they're willing to enter into a 2-year agreement at the $400,000, including all of the other things that we talked about before of the in-kind value of what they bring to the town.
Could they throw in select board shirts as well?
And I know, Zach, we spoke a little bit about it in the past, and I took your direction and went as far as I thought was feasible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love it, to be frank. I think it's a pretty weak position from them to basically say, we've been 3 years at this price, we extended for 1 year, so we've been 4 years at this price, and we're going to go 2 more. So 6 years at a fixed cost. There's nothing in this world that's been a fixed price for 6 years. So I think that's a pretty unfortunate position. And you've done a good job of representing Plymouth State by speaking to their other contributions and the things they've been willing to do. But I think that's a pretty unfortunate stance from them to say no. 6 years, no increase. Because everything we do in this town has increased a lot in 6 years.
I mean, the other position is if we don't agree with it, they don't make any contribution.
Yeah, and I
Which
think
is
that,
unfortunate.
and I think that if they were to say that, we could say, okay, we want to remove the deputization of all of your officers on campus, and we will now charge you at a rate of our choosing for every single incident we respond to. And our price for our police department's $200 an hour. That's what we charge. And let them see how much that costs. We'll stop patrolling their student housing every night. Let that turn into a ghetto. And see.
But that affects our neighborhoods.
Well,
Unfortunately, that affects our
well, it
residents.
does. But you know what? That's the sort of thing that would infect their enrollment when things are tight. You know, and I don't think that honestly they would do any of that. I think they're grandstanding, and they're saying, no, we can't. We can do a multi-million-dollar project to renovate Hyde Hall, right? But we couldn't possibly give the town that is the base of our university, where we pay no property taxes, we won't give them a penny more than we've given them. My personal opinion would be to push hard back and see how they feel about that situation.
So I think
That's
it's going
just
to take
me.
Well, I think it's going to
We
take
may
a
end up
meeting.
in court.
and the
We may-
board then.
We may end up having to get people to petition. But boy, my personal opinion, and I'm one voice on this board, is I'd fight.
Okay, you got two voices.
Right, I don't
'Cause-
think anybody would disagree on this board. It's next steps. Are we willing to push back and say that we don't take the 400,000?
How far are we willing to go?
Right, exactly.
They got a better budget this year than they've had in the past in the state, so.
Yeah. Grace? Yeah, please.
So, like Joe did his research on, permit parking. Like, what do other towns do that have universities? I mean, the taxpayers are really getting crunched in this town, and I agree wholeheartedly with what Zach said. I mean, what do other towns do? Do we know? Can we do that research?
Yeah, what was that, Grace?
What do other towns with universities or schools,
UNH do, for example?
Exeter. I mean,
We
there's,
looked at that. I don't
Different
recall the
circumstances.
numbers.
Yeah, we did look at that.
Yes,
Yeah.
we definitely did.
But it's
UNH
kind of
has
hard to
been cut
compare.
back as well. As Plymouth State, I will say that UNH pays more than what Plymouth State does currently based on the enrollment. But also Oyster River School District pays, the university pays something to Oyster River School District for the students that, for the parents that are professors and students go to Oyster River School District. But
what about Hanover? And there's a ton of towns in this state that have prep schools.
Well, it's different.
It is a bit.
Yeah, it's
If
versus
it's a
state.
for-profit prep school, then
So they
still
do
have to
pay?
pay a
They do.
percentage,
Yep.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's an honest question. I don't
No,
really
they
know.
do, yeah.
They don't pay
do.
full price, though. There is a percentage that they pay.
Yeah. There's a very specific exemption in the tax code for the state university system.
Yeah, I say tax them.
I think for a starter, we should at least start with the interest of the depreciation of the dollar and the amount.
So you want to account for
the
inflation?
Yeah.
And 400,000 is not what it was last year or the year before,
Yeah,
I
mean,
just think they know that. We've tried that. We've pushed back. We're pretty much standing firm.
I mean, part of the problem is that you used to receive $750,000 and the town let that slide. And you used to receive $600,000 and the town let that slide. And then you negotiated $400,000. So
Well, I guess it
Just the
kind of comes
history
back
of
to
where
do
the-
we engage with that individual that we met with that can help negotiate on our behalf?
I will tell you that I have spoken to him, and his feeling is the best you're going to get is what they offer.
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. Let's,
But we
let's,
certainly can set up a meeting with them and have them come into a meeting and have that conversation.
and tell them that our next step is to go to the press. Because that's our negotiation point. Do they want the representation and the reputation that they're taking advantage of a community? In a world where higher education is being seen as expensive, well, how about we paint Plymouth State as expensive and a burden to the community they're in? White people will really love to read that about a local school.
So the contract expires June 30th.
So
I don't know if there's any holdover clause in the contract. I don't believe there is.
Not.
Sure, there's not.
June 26th is our next regular meeting.
I think we schedule something before then, though.
I think we're gonna have to.
Next Monday.
When's that?
What's the date of next Monday's?
19th, I won't be here.
You won't be, okay. I just need 24-hour notice to post it, so tell me when you're available.
I'll make myself available.
Okay.
Yeah, as well.
I can't the week of the 26th. I mean, I can be remote, but I can't in person the week of the 26th.
I will speak to them tomorrow and get a few available dates, and we'll go from there.
But do we want to meet first as a board and go through impact and it's going to hit taxes and make sure we're all knowing the impact either way?
I mean, the impact if they pull out is going to be 80 cents on the tax rate. Right?
Yes,
Yeah, sounds right.
plus the additional, they may not allow you to use their parking areas anymore.
Well, it's,
We've already
Continuing
signed an MOU.
continuing education may be lost for the employees.
I would think we would lose all in kind.
All in-kind services, and you're, I don't know about.
Well, we wouldn't lose the 124,000 or whatever it is we bill them for services, for details.
true.
Depending if they pulled out and went to the University of New Hampshire for dispatching through their police communications center.
Yep, they could do that.
But otherwise, you're correct.
Yeah, but like whatever, yeah, any of those detail, like the event details and those, they could. You're right. They could contract a different police force to do that work.
Bill, is there a date this week? I think you and Ted will probably be the only two that
So,
something doesn't work.
so we're looking, go ahead.
It can't be tomorrow.
Does it have to be evenings? Can it be morning? I don't know if that's more
It
flexible.
would be up to the college too when they're available.
Yeah.
Well,
Again,
tomorrow is my most available day.
Actually, I'm pretty much available until
Wednesday is,
available.
Wednesday I don't have until after 4.
Wednesday after 4.
Thursday, more or less the same.
I didn't see the house schedule, but we'll probably be meeting. I believe we are meeting. I think it'll be on Wednesday, actually.
Well, as long as we can get a quorum,
To
I think
Thursday.
everyone kind of knows what the concerns are.
All right, so
Okay.
you want to target something? Or
Yep. We'll work on something.
Yep, I'll get something scheduled.
Yeah, and then the only thing I want to make sure we're definitely prepared with is if we were to apply the increased costs to the town, to the citizens in that time period. Right, inflation's debatable, but we know how much it's cost to run this town and how much it's increased every year for the past 4 years during the time period. So if we had applied the tax rate
Yeah,
increase,
the
the
relation.
400,000 each of those years, what that increase would be. Because I think that's the fair way to say, hey, this is the increases that we've been getting, and you haven't contributed to that increase of running the town.
I'm game. And you said that UNH per capita or per student is providing more money to the town?
They provide more money based on the enrollment. So I don't know if per capita per student, but based on enrollment.
All right.
Yep.
They have an enrollment of about 20K. But that's not all on the main campus.
Right. Okay.
So sometime this week, we'll set something up if we can.
We'll try.
Thank you.
Highland Street project, HEB Engineering, as we discussed before, was selected for the design phase. We'll be meeting with Josh McAllister to Wednesday, June 14th, and completing the independent government estimate process. So we'll be meeting with him, going through what our numbers are in comparison to what his numbers were, and trying to negotiate the fees moving forward with the design phase of Highland Street. Downtown drainage update. The project has been moving forward nicely over the past 2 weeks. Work on the detention pond started Monday, May 15th. Work started on the drainage portion of the project Monday, June 5th. Free parking is available in Silver Hall lots, and we have the banners up. I will say that I've worked with HEB engineers and Grenice on the following items over the past 2 weeks. One of them was the Railroad Square road alignment, guardrail and fencing at the detention pond, Warren Street drainage, detention pond inlet redesign, and Russell Street sewer connection and water line layouts. I will say it does take a considerable amount of time trying to facilitate the process because, as you're well aware, the contractor doesn't have a contract with the engineers, and the engineers don't have a contract with the contractors, so we are in the middle of facilitating that process to make sure the job doesn't get shut down and to make sure the job continues to move smoothly in a positive fashion. I will say to date we are on schedule. There has been some blocks in the road, but we have been able to facilitate through those with discussions with HEB and Grenice to continue the program or the project moving forward. So that really concludes my report, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, so regarding the detention pond, I was aware that there was some issue going on. Was that all resolved and behind us? Or?
It has been resolved. So the detention pond was supposed to have a manhole at the top by Boomerang in that far corner of the parking lot with a 36-inch diameter plastic drainage pipe running into a bottom manhole that would then lead into the detention pond. Based on additional engineering, it was found that that solution wasn't going to work. So they've come up with another solution, which you've probably seen or haven't seen, that they started with a manhole at the top with a 36-inch discharge that will discharge into a swale that will lead down and into the detention pond. So that was resolved with making a swale with rock and stone that will lead it into the detention pond.
So they're eliminating a drop inlet?
That's correct. And then Warren Street, there was issues with the elevations on the sewer and water outlets of the residents. So that had to be redesigned in order for the drainage to fit in the area that they were moving forward with, as well as a redesign for Russell Street with regards to the same types of issues where the elevation of the water and sewer outlets came into the road. But those have, as of this morning, those have been resolved, and we'll be meeting with HEB and Grenice on Wednesday morning, hopefully.
Sounds like you're on top of it.
So,
Lots of moving pieces. Good work. Does that conclude your report?
yes, it does. Thank you.
Any additional questions for Scott? Okay. We have an reappointment to the Local River Management Advisory Committee.
You've got Select Board Strategic Priorities. Bill is, I think you wanted to speak here on the front page.
Oh, did I skip something?
Yeah, Select Board Strategic
Okay.
Lakes Region Planning Board
All right.
membership renewal.
Oh, yeah, I missed that. I'm sorry.
Wait, what? At least, LRPC?
LRPC membership renewal?
Lakes Region Planning Commission?
Yes.
So, okay.
You have something you wanted to talk about?
So, yeah, we're going to be talking about that. Oh, it says right here. Well, I had communication with Scott and regarding most lately, something that kind of set off a concern. There's such a thing called a TAC that prioritizes repairs to state roads based on review of engineering and cost. And there are, I don't know how many towns in Lakes Region Planning Commission, probably, I don't know, 20, 29, something like that. And we, again, were number 2 on a project that would fix line of sight issues and I guess establish a sidewalk as well outside the armory. You know, that hump is a safety issue. And we were the number 2 project that was selected, and yet we got bumped. And, I mean, there's, it could happen if the TAC met, but there was no meeting of the TAC, there was no kind of discussion, and we just found ourselves number 3, just out of the air. And that's a loss of, what was this, 4 million? I think the whole project was a lot more than that, but for part 1, which we applied for, it was like a $4 million loss that the town just experienced. And it's almost serious enough to consider maybe reviewing our membership with Lakes Region Planning Commission, because we had a discussion with their executive director, and he was kind of dismissive about it, you know, like just for the fact that, well, this is what the executive committee decided. And I happened to be on the executive committee. We had no discussion on the executive committee. We just took a vote. So that was kind of disappointing. And but there's that. There's like several other, you know, we're a member of North Country Council with regard to the hazardous waste pickup. I'm very active with North Country Council with their regional coordination commission regarding transportation throughout. We intend to go forward with a transportation initiative that will basically establish a critical, or what's the call? It's basically like an Uber type of a transportation thing, with partnership with the university to utilize their buses, and actually it's called microtransit. So you're basically using a software product to alert the drivers to economizing pickups and drop-offs, and basically kind of like an Uber. Well, that's on the near future, and North Country Council actually is quite helpful in that. We have meetings up there, and I'm working very closely with them and getting grants from them as well. So they seem to be benefiting our town more than Lakes Region Planning Commission. Sorry, Neil, go ahead.
When I was on the North Country Council and I was on the executive committee up there, I felt that we were being treated fairly, but there was some considerations at town hall that felt we should go somewhere else. So I wouldn't be opposed to going back to North Country Council.
But there was I mean, I had a concern with staffing up there as well.
Well, they went through a change.
Yeah, they did. And, you know, it might behoove us to maybe have a conversation with their executive director, because I'm aware that she's very good for their North Country Council, that she's turning out to be a real good leader. And I work with, her underling, and, he's very helpful. The only thing that, it's almost a flip of a coin. We're on the north central portion of Lakes Region Planning Commission's, area, and we would be on the south, area of
Kind
the.
of like Pluto, aren't we?
Yeah, we still exist, though.
We're neither here nor there.
Yeah, so there may be a benefit to becoming, because we're a university town, with Lakes Region Planning Commission, we're kind of like lowball. With North Country Council, I mean, they've got some, cities and larger areas, but yet we probably have more to offer North Country Council versus Lakes Region Planning Commission. So it may be worthwhile, looking at, especially since the due date on the membership is like now.
And how much is the
Table it?
membership?
Well, for Lakes Region Planning Commission, I thought it was like 5,000 or something like that.
It's the same.
It's the same for either one.
Well, they fixed it based on some formula, so it's probably about the same, I would think.
Paying $5,000 but getting no benefit.
Well, we kind of got a slap, but
Okay, a negative benefit.
yeah, I'm trying to think of
If we join North Country, would that project just go to the end of the list for them?
well, we no longer have a project, so now we have to just go back to the TAC, and their TAC.
Right.
You know, so we, it's still with, we would have to do the same with Lakes Region Planning Commission as well.
Okay, so we have to start over with trying to get that project prioritized either way.
Yep.
And your hypothesis is that we may have better luck with the North Country.
Well, in fact, yes. And unfortunately, the Lakes Region Planning Commission TAC itself is, I guess in fact, we've got a meeting coming up on Wednesday. You know, I'll probably find out more about the status of the TAC, because the chair retired, the previous chair, you know, stepped down. The meetings were kind of intermittent, you know, so in fact, I had this discussion at 2 Lakes Region Planning Commission Executive Committee meetings before, saying we should prioritize TAC. You know, that we're talking millions here from the state, and yet it's poorly attended. The leadership is like non-existent. And well, this is with Lakes Region Planning Commission. I'm not certain if North Country Council is better, but I have a feeling that they are. But I don't know. And you were on the TAC, right?
Yeah. I thought we were making progress.
Yeah.
You were on
They
TAC
had-
for North Country, or you were on
Yeah,
TAC for
they
North
had,
Country?
yeah.
I was with North Country Council, but they went through a period of time where they had some problems.
Yeah. Joe, you've participated in LRPC a bit. Do you have some comments on this? Yeah, please.
So I went to a bunch of those meetings with Neil up north, and the whole time I've been here, we really didn't get much out of the North Country Council. Not a lot came our way, and so we made that decision to go to Lakes Region Planning, and we've actually we've got some results with Lakes Region Planning, and you know, we're on a lot of the 10-year plans, and we're very much involved with them. So I think that they're going through the same kind of period as Lakes Region, you know, as the North Country. So, you know, it's hard to get help, but I've seen personally, I've seen more results with Lakes Region Planning for us, because we're just outside of the Lakes Region area, as you call it, and it puts us in we're more recognized in with this group. Up north, we're like almost on the outskirts of that whole area. Here, I think we're a little more centralized with Lakes Region Planning. So that's just my take on it.
Is there another one that we could, I mean, we're talking about Lakes Region and North, and then I look west, and there's area here. Is there something there?
West is too far, but it was kind of interesting because I think Joseph had a different opinion about our success, or, you know, with Lakes Region Planning Commission. And I think there's an option of doing, what's the work, you know, there's like job, you know, it's also, the regions are broken up by, like, you know, employment areas or something like that. And Joseph showed a map that puts Plymouth at the center of our, you know, employment area, with about 30,000, you know, count, and which is a fairly healthy, but that would be kind of like ludicrous, because then you have to track, you know, have to get like another, like, you know, 12, 14 towns on board. That probably is not going to happen. But the only option pretty much is either one planning commission or the other, without forming another planning commission, which could be done, but it would be a lot of work.
So
And
we
then
would
we'd be
have to really champion that.
Yeah, and we would be central to that. But and we have a great executive counselor who actually has higher aspirations, and, you know, she probably would be very helpful, you know, for us, and champion it pretty hard. And that's who we'd have to go to, is the executive council.
Yeah, we were at the top of the list for Highland Street, And then the governor and council pushed us back.
Well, if we're always on the list, and that's what we're on, and we never get a result from it, what point is there to being on the list?
Okay, we got the the circle out at the end of Smith Bridge.
Well,
That's been accepted.
it's in the plan.
Yeah.
But it could be pushed
It could
back.
get
At
bumped
any
again.
moment, it could get bumped.
Well, it went through the whole process of like picking a project that would be on the 10-year plan. So we're there, but if that's what would this thing out on North Route 3, we would get on the plan, but no guarantee. In fact, well, there's a whole long discussion about overextending their monies and utilization of federal monies that. But it's likely that if we were accepted at this, on this one, we would have been a project that would actually go forward.
So have we actually ever gotten a project,
Yeah.
and what was
To
it?
get on the TAC, well, we got Highland Street,
We
and
got money for that?
yeah, and that started at North Country Council, and then we had the Rotary out on Tenny Mountain Highway.
Smith Bridge Road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, well, not that that project is completed, but that project has been run through LRPC.
Yeah, so next it goes like to engineering and stuff, and probably getting, well, it was engineered in order for it to be before the TAC, but and that's another thing too. We with Lakes Region Planning Commission, we had Tink Taylor, as far as head of the TAC, and he was very good. And I think you'd be willing to say that too. Anyway, Tink tried to step down, and this is getting to the disinterest of people going to the TAC meetings. He couldn't retire because there was never a quorum, and they were never able to accept their minutes. I mean, it was like kind of ludicrous how people felt the need to be on this committee that was very important. But
Would it raise any of their concerns if we said we're not renewing? Would they?
I don't think they care. Well, there's another town, and I think it used to be maybe like not Center Harbor or something like that. That just hadn't paid the dues for years.
Years?
Yep. And I think they got to the point where they're not getting anything out of it, so why pay them? But they're the exception. Everyone else pretty much coughs up their membership fees.
Whether they get anything or not.
Yep. Well, again, the people, other than us, the people that pay their dues get involved with hazardous waste pickup. And that's like a big project that both planning commissions do for their members. But we don't do that. We go with North Country Council's hazardous waste pickup. I assume it's a, better cost for us. But
Okay, so why do we go with the Lakes Region one? You're selling me and not doing it. They give us no benefit. We're using the other one's
Joe-
services.
Joe indicated, yeah, we had a project that went through, and I'm saying it probably was helpful to go through because of Tink Taylor, who's no longer
Well,
there.
we may have had just as much success in getting it to go through if we went through the North Country one.
Maybe. I would assume that, we're kind of like at we have to go, I can't say shit or get off the pot, I guess, but we need to be able to,
Here's a question: when does North Country meet?
they meet the same
They also
frequency.
meet on Mondays.
That's a good question.
Because
I mean, 'cause
if we can
literally-
Was that the
attend,
deciding kind of thing?
I mean, if we could attend North Country meetings and we can't attend LRPC meetings, like that actually might be reason enough to go with the other organization. Just because
I think if that were the case, we could pretty much drive them to have a meeting on Tuesdays instead of, but I'll call up Nick, the guy I work with, and find out. But is it worth having discussion with their executive director, or,
I think
it's worth having the conversation.
yeah?
Is that a conversation that you want to have? Is that a conversation we want to delegate to Scott? Is that a conversation for
Have it-
Joseph?
Could we have it? Oh, yeah, and Joseph too? That'd be sweet.
Sure.
Yeah.
yeah, you and Scott and Joe.
Get something set up.
Okay.
I think
Thank you.
doing some exploration here makes sense.
Does Lake Surgeon know how unhappy we are with them?
I expressed it to their executive director. I think Scott did as, in fact, I know Scott did as well.
And when we vote with our wallet, they'll know.
Well,
Yeah.
In fact, I attended their meeting last Thursday, and they didn't have a quorum and couldn't make any decisions at their Lakes Region Planning Commission meeting they had that afternoon, so. I think it's worth having a conversation with North Country Council, see what we hear back from them, and bring it back to the board and make a decision from there.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
This isn't, perhaps it isn't a selling point, but Doug Grant was like I think the chair of their executive committee up on North Country Council. So, and he knows everybody up there too. So need be, we can utilize him as well.
who does?
Doug Grant.
But I'll call up and get something scheduled for us.
Okay,
Yep.
that'd be great.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to an appointment of
Yes.
Neil to the Local River Management Advisory Committee.
So,
I have a form in front of me.
yep, looks like this guy Neil Frederick
Can you think of
MacGyver.
anybody better that could do
Better.
the job?
Well,
I mean, this Neil guy is pretty suspect.
So I'll make a motion to reappoint Neil to the Local River Management Advisory Committee.
Lakes River.
Oh, this
This
is,
is Local
oh,
River.
local river.
yeah, this is local on this form.
Management.
Well, sorry, Neil.
Pemmy River local.
Yeah, it's PERLAC, Pemmons-Wasset River Local
Oh.
Advisory Committee.
Yes, this is
Okay.
Pemigewasset
Pemigewasset
River
River Local
Management
okay.
Advisory Committee, yeah.
Yep, got it. I'll amend it to such.
Can't see, sign this, can we?
I'm gonna abstain.
Well, I will second.
Oh, I was gonna second, okay. Go for it.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Get
opposed?
that out of the way.
And I assume, Neil, you
vote.
abstained?
Next thing is the governor has to sign it.
Oh,
Well, good luck on that one.
be in your sign folder as well, Zach.
Yes, it should be. Thank you.
Are we gonna nominate Quentin Blaine?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
he's
trying
signing
to,
the-
I was trying to figure out how to actually sign this thing. 'Cause I don't know if I'm supposed to print my, I'm gonna let somebody else sign this and then I'll follow their pattern. Okay, we also have an appointment letter.
It's on the back side. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
An email to Scott. Dear Scott, it's my understanding that Douglas Grant has resigned as trustee of Pease Public Library. I would like to be appointed to fill the vacancy. Please let me know if you need anything further from me in regard to my request. Thank you, Quentin.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Quentin Blaine as the library trustee.
Second.
Is library trustee an elected position?
Yeah,
No, it's appointed.
no,
No,
it's elected.
no, it is?
It's elected, correct?
Yeah.
So this is an appointment to fill out the
Int-
remainder of the term, at which
Of
point
Doug Grant,
it would
correct.
be re-elected, or the position would get elected in the spring?
Yeah,
Okay.
very early spring.
Or, yeah, late winter. Just was clarifying. Any other discussion?
Quentin Blaine has been a faithful public servant to the town.
Yes. In a lot of roles for quite a long time.
He's a selectman,
And a moderator.
moderator, more than school moderator, too.
So, I missed a
And
second
Village
on
water
that.
sewer moderator.
You have a second on that?
Neil second.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Neil seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Doesn't really matter, don't worry about it.
The two of you set a heck of a precedent here.
There's almost no room in there. I'll just say that.
This was the exact fear that I had as I looked at it.
Pass that back over to Zach.
think this only has space for the 3 signatures.
Yep.
You two don't have to suffer through that one. That takes us to loan documents for the solar project. And
So I have in front of you the loan document for the solar array for $686,000. This is through the CDFA. This is a loan and security agreement and promissory note. It's 10 years, 3%. And probably the original one that you had in your package, this one changed just a little bit. Item 2 indicated that the borrower had 10 days of receipt of any grant money to be paid back to the USDA grant. It should have been 30 days according to your original document, so that's been corrected. And then at the request of the attorney, item 12, wanted to make sure that everything went back to term 2, which now it does clarify and it goes back to there. So what I need the board to do is to authorize Zach to sign this loan and security agreement as chairman of the board.
Like Ann said, we did have this reviewed by Attorney Radigan, who made suggestions, who the CDFA made the changes with regards to the document that are in front of you tonight.
Are they going to incorporate those changes in their documents?
We've
Is that-
already made them, they've already been made.
done.
Okay.
There's also attached a New Hampshire State Statute 399B disclosure of financial charges. Lets us know that it's costing us $700 to acquire this loan, which we will find the funds in the budget this year.
Okay, I will make a motion to have Zach be able to sign this loan and securities agreement and promissory note, and additionally, the disclosure of finance charges document that's also attached.
Second.
any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Today's date is the 12th.
Is
Yes, it is.
All day.
Okay. We have a purchase order.
Yes, the purchase order that you have in front of you is for Central Square, which is the software that Plymouth Police Dispatch uses, as well as the mobile data terminals. It's renewal of that software system to be paid after July 1st, so out of next year's budget, the 23-24 budget.
I'm assuming this is a single source.
$753.
I'm assuming this is a single source provider.
That is correct.
Any major difference from last year?
I'll take it, sure.
I don't recall.
The cost is a fixed cost of the $18,753.
But how does that relate to last year?
Same price.
Oh, it's the same price. Okay.
Good. I like that. All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase order for $18,753.50 for Central Square.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And signature file review.
Right, I'm just going to start going through these and I'll keep going. We have a certification of yield tax assessment in the amount of $192.35 for the board to approve. Next item is a notice of intent to cut wood or timber on Texas Hill Road. have 5 veterans tax credits. These are abatements for properties. The veterans tax credits did not transfer over in the billing system when the first bill went out. So those are abatements that need to be applied. The last two are elderly exemptions that did not carry over to the new billing system for the first bill. There's 2 of those, and that's it. Is that one that's sitting up there?
I can't tell from here.
Those are signed.
These are signed.
I was collecting them all.
These will head back your way.
Yes,
Thanks.
thought that'd be easier.
Is that it?
I find that my signature is becoming more like Mary Ann's now.
Can't tell them apart.
Yep.
I've got a pile here.
Is that it, Ann?
That's it.
Thank you. As we continue to circulate those, and, any questions about any of that? They all were very
Simply straightforward.
normal rote stuff. Cool. New business. Josiah Eady? Ide.
Not
Thank
up
you.
Josiah.
Josiah Ide, Hunt Road East, Plymouth, New Hampshire building permit, Class 6 road and Class 6 or private road acknowledgement and notice of limits of municipal responsibility. What can we help you with, Josiah?
So I'll facilitate for Josiah starting, is that in front of you, what you have tonight is Josiah is looking for a building permit on parcel 248001. That parcel is located on the Class 6 portion of Hunt Road, located in Plymouth. The planning board has reviewed the information that Josiah had put in front of him, and the planning board has issued a notice of decision that they see no reason to advise against the development provided by the applicant, as long as the applicant understands and accepts the limitations of municipal liability under RSA 67441, which is required to build on a Class 6 road. In my conversations with Josiah, he fully acknowledges and understands that responsibility of signing the municipal liability agreement. So I believe tonight, Josiah is in front to get a conditional approval of being able to build on that portion of the Class 6 road, as he is in the process of signing a sales and purchase agreement with Durwood Gray of Bridgewater in order to do so. So with that being said, Josiah is in agreement to signing the municipal limitation of liability against the town of Plymouth in order to have a building permit issued on that property.
When building on a Class 6 road, does that also give all the maintenance of the road off to Josiah?
That is correct.
Right, because the town we don't do maintenance on
Correct.
Class 6 roads.
I think the other important piece to that is that Josiah is looking to enter the property off of Mayhew Turnpike. Am I correct, Josiah?
Right, from the Hebron side.
From the Hebron side, not from the Plymouth side of Hunt Road.
Okay.
Wow.
But the property is located in the town of Plymouth, so the municipal liability waiver would be signed with the town of Plymouth, not the town of Bridgewater, because the property is located as a parcel in the town of Plymouth.
So we don't have to worry about the bridge.
Not in this case, but we do have to worry about the bridge later on.
Yeah.
But we're working with FEMA on that situation. But that's what Josiah is here for tonight, is to get a conditional approval in the event that he purchases the property, that he's able to obtain the building permit and sign the municipal liability waiver.
Could I clarify too? The building permit that you see here, I don't know if you have it in front of you,
We
but
don't have the building
it's
permit.
just for recreational property or recreational structure that we want to put up, just to start the process. Our intent is to live full-time eventually. We have a 5-year plan laid out of, for a timeline till we would be living full-time on the property. So just to clarify that is our plans to live on the Class 6 road, not just build this recreational structure.
Right, what
So
he's
you
looking
would
to-
be accessing it from the Class 6 road? Not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what the initial build is really considered an accessory structure, looking at the zoning ordinance, and meets the terms and definitions of accessory structure.
It's an accessory. You can have an
Like
accessory.
a shed.
You can have, okay.
Garage.
Tent platform,
Can't.
correct?
Yeah. And the planning board has approved that, if I understand correctly.
What's the recreation that you,
What's that?
what's the recreation?
Oh, I mean, Hunt Road has a number of hunting cabins and things like that. So we would be building a property much like what's already there to start. And that would allow us to be there while we're creating a building site, putting in a septic system and everything else that's on our plan.
I remember we gave an approval to a family to build a small compound of camps. Did they, are they up there?
That is up there, Neil.
It is?
Yep.
Is it on Hunt Road?
Yeah.
Yeah, this side of where you're building,
Okay.
Josiah.
So I'll make a motion that we give them conditional access.
Conditional approval for
Approval.
the building permit based on the signing of the liability waiver.
Yep.
Second.
Any discussion? Just looking at it on the map.
Just interesting.
Well, thank you.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank
All
you. Would you like to sign this document now? I know it's got the selectmen.
We cannot sign that until you actually have ownership of the property.
Oh, gotcha.
So once you have ownership of the property, if you want to bring that back in, we'll have that signed and taken care of.
Okay. Well, thank you.
All right?
Aaron wants to talk to us about dog warrants.
Good evening. I'm Erin O'Ryan. I'm currently the interim town clerk. I come to the select board this evening with a warrant for unlicensed dogs in the town of Plymouth. As per RSA 466-1 in the state of New Hampshire, all dogs older than 4 months are required to be registered with the town and have updated rabies vaccination. The town has made multiple attempts to notify residents since January. The Plymouth Police Department has been notified of this warrant presented this evening. The warrant includes the list of unregistered dogs in the town of Plymouth for your review. And please let me know if you have any questions.
This list is unregistered dogs?
Yes.
Gotcha.
And Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, it allows the police department to, what happens after this gets signed?
Okay, so this would enact civil forfeiture. It's a penalty of $25. The town also includes a postage fee, maximum of $7. This does not include the actual dog licensing or any late fees that may have accrued.
Just to make my understanding, it is assumed that these dogs are living. Do they?
Yes,
Do
so
they notify you when their dog is deceased?
we try, we make best attempts. Residents are responsible for letting us know if they've moved or if the dog is no longer with them or deceased. In those cases where the dog is no longer with a Plymouth resident, this is null and void.
Okay.
So, just so I understand, the police kind of serve this notice to these folks?
We are going to be using certified mail to ensure that each resident has been definitively notified.
Right.
It is an option in the future if the police would like to facilitate in serving that warrant.
How do we know about unlicensed dogs?
The vets will let us know about all rabies certificates, and that's because
Okay.
it is the law.
So we
that-
learn about it via the
Yes.
vets.
Yes.
Gotcha.
This was done last year as well, Aaron,
Yes,
correct?
this
Chelsea
is
came in
done-
front.
Every year.
Every year.
Yep.
I'm glad to see there's no selectmen on this list.
Well,
Getting a little nervous.
actually, I got reminders, I never got back to you, and our dog was deceased on January 6th, but apparently that was
But we
figured
were
out.
sure to be in touch and updated that record, so.
Did the vet notify you?
The vet does not notify us of any deceased dogs.
Yeah, that's right.
So you need an approval on this.
Yes.
So I'll make a motion that we approve this warrant for unlicensed dogs.
A second.
Any discussion?
You like dogs.
All those in
I was
favor?
just-
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Pop that in your box
Thanks,
tomorrow
Aaron.
morning.
Thanks, Aaron. Can I borrow that?
Oh, yeah.
I think one last time. And that's the end of signing things. That's fun. Ann, budgets.
I think this is gonna be an Ann and Scott show. So we are starting to work on the 2024-25 budgets, as we indicated earlier. As we look down through, looks like salary increases will be at 3%. Health and dental, different ranges there that we're looking through. New Hampshire retirement, short-term disability. The real reason that we're bringing this to the board tonight is to let you know in advance the amount of meetings that you have coming up. And hopefully, if there's any conflict at all, that you'll look at your schedule sooner rather than later. So from 7/26 through 9/29, we have the department heads working on the CIP, their budgets, and also working on the 29-30 year for the CIP. By October 2nd, they need to have their budgets finalized. Somewhere around October 2nd, in addition to meeting with Scott and I between October 2nd and October 13th, they'll be meeting with the CIP at that point, just to review, making sure their numbers are updated in that program. By October 18th, the budget should be at the Budget Committee for their initial review. October 25th and October 26th, depending on what's needed. Scott and I will be meeting with the Budget Committee between October 26th and November 15th. The Budget Committees will set their own schedules with the department heads. On November 17th, the budget needs to be put into the program, and then the Board of Selectmen are going to start their meetings with departments, town manager, and the Budget Committee. So something to keep in mind, we're looking at December 4th, December 11th, December 18th. There is already a schedule put together of who you're going to meet and when. January 8th is another budget meeting. We're trying to stay away from Christmas and Thanksgiving, so we did the schedule up in that manner. Your first public hearing will be on January 22nd. Second public hearing on February 8th. And we have to have the warrant posted by February 9th. I know it sounds like it's a long ways away, but once we start moving, it moves, and it moves
Seems like we
quick.
just did this.
We did.
Yeah.
So again, you're budgeting for anywhere from 2 years, 18 months to 2 years out. So keep that in mind. So I really want the board to consider, you don't have to make a decision tonight because I'm not sure everyone has their calendars, but on the third page in, starting with December 4th, those times, some of these are prior to selectmen's meetings, some of them are outside selectmen's meetings. We're trying to get it so that the departments don't have to come in and spend evenings with you. We've given them limited, half an hour to an hour, depending on the size of the department. So if there's, if we can just clarify at the next meeting whether any of these dates have conflicts. You already have, I'm taking up all your fall and winter
Free.
scheduled.
Who needs to work
That's right.
every day?
I'd have to see what days of the week those fall on.
Those aren't all Mondays.
Most of them are Mondays.
Most likely, if they're on Mondays, that will be no problem for me.
Okay,
Same here.
all
I
right.
mean, this far
So-
out,
But just confirm at the next meeting or send me an email between now and the next meeting.
I'll
if-
check them out.
If something doesn't work.
I
This
mean,
will be
to be
pres-
clear, that many daytime meetings, that many weeks in a row is brutal.
Yeah.
But
I hear you. That's brutal for us too. It's
Well,
not.
it's not brutal for you because it's during the day, which thus it's during your working hours where we actually have to
But sitting,
effectively use vacation days for that as people who have
we
full-time
appreciate
jobs.
that, Zach.
Yes, thank you for
very
putting
Like,
fine point
just,
on it.
just really making it clear,
All right.
we'll be using our
And that's
paid
why
time
I'm
off,
giving you in advance.
which is a new thing. We've historically done these in the evenings, so
That's
you're-
assuming you get paid time off. Let me just throw that out there.
Yes.
And after looking at the budget, you may decide you don't want to meet with someone because you're,
There's no need.
except the, right.
That seems
and
unlikely.
I doubt that'll.
unlikely,
Yeah.
but we have a meeting with the department heads coming up on July
July
20.
26th, we'll
Six.
be meeting with the department heads,
Yep.
and we will be having a full disclosure and discussion on my expectations of them developing their budgets. And like I said before, there'll be accountability control over there will be absolute justification for what, when, and how. There will be efficiency control on really taking a look at what they're proposing in their budget. And can we budget the same, budget the less, and get greater or the same outcomes? And really communicating that, as well as the economic control of really managing the expenditures and revenues. And so with that being said, in this year, current year's budget, we're at June 12th. We have 12.7% of the budget left, which is good news for us. And we have only uncollected 0.3% of revenues. So we've done really well, and a lot of credit to Ann on capturing those revenues and making sure they've been collected. So I can tell you that we will do our due diligence and working with the department heads and holding them accountable based on our expectations of moving forward with the 24-25 budget.
Right.
And it's important that we have at least 3 of you here, for the 26th, because at that point you'll be signing our proposals, hopefully, for encumbrances. So I need 3
I'll
that
be
can
there.
make
On
decisions
the 26th.
on the 26th.
I think I'm on vacation.
You'll only have Neil, Ted, and Bill.
That's okay. As long as I have a majority, I'm good.
Right now, tentatively, that's about $480,000. Tentatively, as of today.
So about $1.
No, that's what we're gonna have left in the budget. Our proposal is 480,000
Right.
left.
Right.
The rest of it would go towards the encumbrances.
Okay. Good.
Okay,
Okay.
anecdotally, I see this reflects a lot of the increases that we are expecting as a town. Could this information also find its hands into that conversation with Plymouth State as justification? We're seeing these increases, we're just trying to do what's best for the town and get that equal.
Is line 3 saying that New Hampshire retirement for police is increasing by 31%?
No, it is not increasing by that. That when you're
is the
budgeting.
retirement rate.
That is the retirement
That's
rate.
the rate, okay.
Yes.
That's not the increase, that is the rate.
The rate, yes.
Thank you. I was like,
No,
how do we survive that?
all right, so if you could just all email either Scott or I and let us know if you have any problem with that schedule. We'll
It's kind of way out there, but we'll, yeah.
It is
I'll se-
way
I'll
out
send you-
there,
I'll
but-
send you an email.
Yeah, I will too. I'm gonna have to put that in this, I have a real problem with next meeting, the 26th.
What?
I'm just messing with you.
Don't do that.
We're under enough stress.
I think I'm feeling sick that day.
Any other questions about the budget and the schedule?
Loving it.
All right, Neil, soil testing and Main Street construction.
I gave each one of you a handout. I want to reiterate that Plymouth is focused on environmental stewardship. That's our town brand. And my professional capacity is along those lines. I've spent most of my life working towards environmental stewardship. And professionally, that's the nature of my work. And I grew up in this town. I was born in Laconia, but I lived all my life in Plymouth until I went away to college, where I saw real pollution in Philadelphia and Delaware, DuPont, that type of thing. But what I'm concerned about in Plymouth is the fact that we're having a major construction project on Main Street, and I don't have any quibble with the contractors that are doing the work, but I think people need to know a little history about Main Street, Plymouth. There are over 20 gas stations on Main Street, and 7 auto dealerships, and 2 dry cleaners, and a tannery, and machine shops, and truck repair and car repair facilities. And I would say that all of these establishments had floor drains. And I would say that probably most, if not all of them, were not connected to the town sewer. They were ground treatment. It was oil, gas, fuel. I have a list of facilities that I compounded that I have recollection of. CB Titus had a large gas and oil tank yard on South Main Street, down where where the kids paint the concrete supports that held the tanks by the skate park. There was a massive fuel spill down there, and I really don't know whether it was ever really cleaned up. Across the street was Sleeper's Service. That was an auto dealership garage that did auto repairs, towing, and they had gas pumps, and they're in the water table. Their septic system didn't work. And if you went up the street to where Boomerangs is now, there was a Pontiac dealership. And a little further up the street, where the step ladders is now, was Durgan's Mobile Garage. And he was mobile gasoline sales and car and truck repair. And if you went across the street, where the parking lot is for Midstate now, that was the Napa Auto Parts store. And then next to the Napa Auto Parts store was Heal's Chrysler dealership, Dodge and Plymouth, and they had gas pumps. And then if you go just a little further up the street, where it used to be the South Main Quick Check, and then 7-Eleven owns it now, they had gas pumps there. And if you go a little further up the street and you get across from the movie theater, was Lyford's Gulf Station, which also did auto repairs. And then you go a little further up the street, and where the Circle Dry Cleaners is now, I missed the dry cleaners that was where the sports bar is at this time. And that's across from Midstate. And you get up to Pease Motors, which is the Ford dealership. They had gas pumps on both sides of the road. They owned where the Lucky Dog is. That was their showroom. Randlett's Garage Auto Repair was downstairs where the bar is, and up where the brick building is across the street. Pease had gas pumps. Roadside gas pumps were popular. They put the tanks right under the road. And they parked the cars on top of the building. There's a little driveway, you can see it now, that goes up around back. Then across the street where used to be True Colors, now it's Peppercorn, that was the Deming Chevrolet dealership. And they did auto and truck repair there. And downstairs was Bachelor Tree Service. And they had their whole fleet being maintained there. And so then you take a jump up Main Street. No, wait, you know where Fat Fish is? That was the city service gas station, and they had a repair bay. And they have those tall green lights on the side of the building. The sign was city service, looked like green clover. And then it became Citgo. And then Harvey's Texaco was located where Main Street Dental is. And behind Harvey's Texaco was Fred H. Speed's tank yard. And he was a Texaco supplier for all the Texaco stations in the area. And then if you go up to where the Meredith Village Savings Bank is, there was Huckins Gulf, which had roadside pumps, and then it became Denny's Exxon later on. And behind there, in the parking lot to the bank, is where Dolph's garage was, and that was a repair and maintenance facility for automotive and truck purposes. Next door, where Ty Smile is, was Snell Auto Parts, and they handled a lot of oil. And then you go up to the Circle, beyond Samaha's, the other side of the road, just actually right where the road is now, that goes across the bridge, is where the Arco station was. Atlantic Richfield gas station. And that was an automotive repair facility. And then across the street, on the corner of High Street, next to the D&M building, was Lyman Taylor's mobile station, which is where Kip and Joe started out selling Volkswagens. And they had gas pumps. And then, Draper Maynard had a tannery business. And they had a tannery operation because they were making baseball gloves and all sorts of sporting goods. And then just on the far end of Plymouth Furniture was the Tydal station, which became the Flying A and eventually the Getty. And Then you go a little further to where New World Auto was the Sunoco gas station. And of course, the Jenny Sitco station was up where when they gave up the station on where Fat Fish is, they moved up to where Kirk is now. And Kirk has modern tanks. I know that because I watched them put them in. On Old North Main Street, there was a Chevy dealership, which became Gould's Garage, where they did heavy truck repair and equipment repair, and it's now Lucas Tree Service maintenance facility. And then if you go up, you go past the Common Man Inn and you go up the hill. It used to be a much steeper hill before they built the interchange. We called it Peg Mill Hill. There was a gas station on the right, and behind that was a large machine shop that belonged to Larry Boschman. And that machine shop burned down. And of course, everything was removed when they built the interchange back in 67, 68. You get up just past the Pilgrim Motel, where TAV Electronics is, and the U-Haul. There was a gas station there, and that's right across from the police station. And Ed Lassard had his auto sales there, and he had a facility there. And I'm getting near the end. You get a little further up the street, at number 386 on the left was the White Mountain Grocery. They had roadside gas pumps, and you can still see the Port Cashier that comes out over where the pumps were. And you go underneath the bridges, and on the left was another gas station at 446 Main. Then a little further up on where they call it the Plymouth House was Bartlett Motors. They were an International and Jeep dealership, and they had gas pumps. The last one was Durgan's Garage, up almost to the Campton Town line where J&M Imports was, and they were mobile gas. So, altogether, I think we had 20 gas stations, 7 auto dealers, all the, machine shops, garage repairs. The Clean Water Act was not enacted until July 1st, 1967. And all these places were going, and they had floor drains. And it just, what they do is they take a 55-gallon drum and dig a hole and put it in the ground, put some stone around it. That was it. The ground, Plymouth is Gasoline Alley. It's full of toxic materials. And I think, personally, I would be remiss if I did not bring this up in public and let people know the truth about what is in this town. And I think that we should encourage the engineers to do proper testing of the soils. They're digging the soils out of the ground. We don't know where they're dumping them. They could be dumping them somewhere in a wetland. We don't know. They're not bringing it all back. Some of it's coming back. What's coming back could be toxic material too. As far as I know, it's not being tested. I think that there should be some form of testing. And I'm going to leave it at that.
I will just say Neil did bring this to my attention last week, and I did reach out to the engineers at Wright Pierce and HEB, and they are following in their contracts all the DES regulations on what is required when they're taking soil out. And I'll read exactly what I got back from them. To my knowledge, the soil being removed is not tested by Wright Pierce or Gurneys for toxicity, unless warranted, such as if they run into soil with characteristics that indicate fuel spill plume location, which would be a public health or an environmental concern. So far, all of the soil removed from the trenches under observation of Gurneys and Wright Pierce appears to be clean. The soil that is going back into Main Street is only tested for the physical characteristics, such as particle size, how much passes through a sieve, and application of the material via density testing to ensure maximum compaction. The material is either suitable native material that was removed from Main Street or material from a nearby vendor. So that's the information I received back. In talking with both Greg Ward and Ben at Wright Pierce, they are following the regulations through DES for this process. It was built into the contract to assure both engineers were observing and making sure Grenese was following those DES recommendations and guidelines. So I did look into it like I responded back to you, Neil, and that's what I've been told.
Thank you. I appreciate Scott's checking into it. I'm still concerned.
I think, well, that they can't note every, hazardous waste that they might dig up, but they probably could, like, if something's saturated with like gas or oil, they'd probably note that, I would think.
That's what they're talking about, a fuel spill plume, is that
Yeah,
they would
right.
identify that with
Because it's gonna have a smell to it.
Is that what it is? Is it a visual or a smell?
Smell.
It's a visual smell in the, from what I understand, obviously I'm not an engineer or a contractor, but they can identify this when the soil is being dug up
Okay.
and they come into an area that has those characteristics.
It's an amazing number of gas stations on stupid
Yeah,
Plymouth.
yeah.
Yeah, Jesus, how many people? And now we're down to like 4 or 5.
I don't think the gas moves.
Maybe not.
I remember when there was a spill down at the highway garage, and maybe Joe remembers that.
It was just before I came on board, but there was talk of it.
Years to
And they literally set up a building out back and had underground testing, and we paid dearly for years
Years.
until the testing met standards. They would come in and test it, and they had the wells and they would collect gas. Yeah.
They're pulling the cone back.
So, in regards to Main Street, I periodically show up when they're digging on South and on Main Street, and I haven't seen anything discolored enough, in the soils to show like fuel or oil, or it had that smell of, contaminated like fuel or gas. Because if I had seen any of that, I would have approached them and asked them to do some testing, but so far I haven't seen it. The only place in town that I've seen discoloration was down on Railroad Square when they were putting in those apartments. They were doing some work there, and it was just the color of coal when they did the coal, when they had the railroad carts that came through. But other than that, I haven't seen anything on those stretches while I've been watching this project.
Oh, Frank, did you have a comment?
Yes, as a member of the general public, I was at a selectmen's meeting sometime between 1995 and 2000. The DES came to this meeting and it indicated to the select board that they were trying to establish a brownfield program on 11 acres down where the skateboard park is, because the state assumed ownership of the railroad, and that whole area was dumping ground, and they wanted to initiate actions to do soil sampling on a grid program. We practically see what was there as far as contamination. And I, of course, stood up as the public of town and said, hey, I'd like to see that happen, but it turns out that they could only negotiate and work with an existing property owner. So those monies in that program went away. And if we were going to initiate an action to do the brownfield program, which is to qualify a piece of property that would not be contaminated, so you would have the capability of a proper deed that is impacted, the land is not impacted for sale. You'd have needless to say, that whole south area of Main Street was totally built on all the buildings where they're putting that drainage system in now on unnamed way. It was totally occupied by railroad buildings. And so between the tank storage and the old hall facility for the trains themselves, that area was substantially impacted with what we would consider contamination at this time. I don't know the status of the brownfield program, DES at this time, so, but that was back in, after we did the evaluation of Green Street program in 1995, that was part of that evaluation.
There was a Superfund hit in the vicinity of where the Enterprise Center is, and I learned that there's a trench that leads from up by Rounds Hall, where the boiler plant used to be at the college, and next to the boiler plant was the vehicle equipment maintenance facility, and they had gas pumps there. And that trench and a pipe led over to High Street, down High Street, and went between Richardson's and Plymouth Furniture, and it was leaking into the river.
In Green Street, the Merrifield Savings Bank, Denny's garage, there is a water sampling system right there on Green Street. This spring, they were checking that quality of water to see how much of the petroleum, oil, and was still in the groundwater there. So that testing station is right there on Green Street. So, but I just happened to be there when they were taking their samples this year. But I don't know what extent of the Greenfield, Brownsfield program the DES is still monitoring on various towns. So be something to go back to DES. And the other thing is, all this work that we're doing on the south end of town, Main Street, we still haven't done an environmental inventory of that 11 acres that affects that groundwater runoff into the river. We haven't done even an inventory yet, or much an assessment to determine what your impacts are. You have to do the inventory first. We haven't done that.
It wasn't long ago that Bruce Wiggett came in with a real problem involving a structure that nobody knew what it was or what was in it, and it flooded his building.
And they've identified that in our,
They did?
yeah, they've identified that, and that's being taken into the new drainage that is going to go down
They
Russell Street.
don't know what it came from, though, do they?
Comes from up off of Pleasant Street and Langdon Street area.
It came across
Came
Main
across
Street?
Russell Street
Russell,
through his basement in one of those buildings.
no, where Edgar's
Right.
Hotel is? Where,
believe so.
by the Meredith Village Savings Bank?
No, I'm sorry. I'm talking about South Main Street
Oh.
off of Russell
Well,
Street.
I thought his problem was at
Yes.
the building on North Main Street.
You are correct.
I think it was too, yeah. We still don't know what caused that.
Well, I just felt that I had to get it out. Get it out there. I don't know.
And I will
know what
continue
the
to
answer
be
is, yeah.
vigilant about it and
Yeah.
continue to check with them.
Sound reasonable? All right. On to committee reports.
Yeah, go on.
Water and sewer, Marianne?
No meeting till tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So we'll get an update on the 26th. Planning board, Neil.
Let's see. We had a meeting on May 18th. We haven't had a meeting since then, have we?
Our last meeting was on the 22nd.
Was that the planning board?
Yeah.
Just the community meeting that was held last Thursday at the high school.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I wasn't there.
how did that go?
Went good.
Just in my report, there was 35 people there. I thought there was good conversation, discussions that took place. People went to all of the open stations, which had stickers or pin points that you could put on different feelings on where you thought this type of housing should be, or with regards to the master plan, with regards to what's affordability mean in the town of Plymouth. So I thought it went very well. I thought there was good participation, good conversation, and Bill was in attendance at the meeting.
Even I was there, yeah. And, I thought it was really well done. And it really had the gamut as far as like the spread of townspeople that you expect to see, from like the very permissive to the very restrictive. So it was great.
Do we know what happens next?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Do we know what happens next?
Well,
Take all that info and,
They are tallying all the informations from the first community meeting, the second community meeting, and the 541 people that did the housing survey, and then they'll establish some type of a report that will come back out, and then they'll further study from there, is my understanding at this
Mrs.
time.
Barrett.
Yes.
Mrs.
Yep.
Barrett's gonna
Yep.
coordinate it.
Yep.
We had a member of the public there as well. You were there.
Who was there? Frank?
Yeah, Frank was
You go to
at the
the-
meeting.
I would expect no less.
Yep.
Campus Community Council.
There is nothing on the calendar. There's still a possible meeting in August hosted by PSU, but that was originally committed to by Marlon, who is no longer here. And then the standard one that we usually have in early October.
Okay. School District.
I went to both. PES on 6/5. They touted that their kindergarten enrollment is steady at 24. They made a call out to make sure that people who have children who are eligible for kindergarten do not wait till August to sign them up, but do it early.
please.
Yep. They had a student go to the National Spelling Bee, which is a big deal. Unfortunately, they were eliminated in the second round.
Still.
It's 74. They tied for 74, or she did. And I think that's friggin' amazing, actually.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Amazing, amazing. Yes. She did great.
They talked about how they have their before school program. They had 82 students enrolled. This is a grant funded event, and they average 43 to 56 students per day. They added physical activity to probably like walking or something like that to their activities. Let's see what else is of note. They did also talk about some training that they went to, a FEMA course, ALFS training. I'm not really sure what those are, but their spring sports went well. They had 82 students that were participated, and they placed in something, and I missed this. They placed number 2 for the boys, and number 2 for the girls, and number 3 for the boys, but I don't remember what it was about. They talked about their end of year finance. They talked about the fact that they have $485K remaining, 290 of which was committed to offset taxes per last year, which left.
They retained the maximum.
Yeah, they did retain the maximum. And they were using some of the end of year monies to spend on capital improvements. They broke it down. Flagpole broken, $7K. Sound system in the gymnasium, $50K. Parks and Rec cabinets, $5K. Let's see, floor cleaning, $9K. So basically, they know they're going to resurface the floor in their gymnasium, and they were using this as an opportunity to also get the PA system. So when we have town meeting in there, maybe people will be able to hear.
Better.
That's
They
the
love it.
theory.
Well, for as long as they allow us to have town meeting in there.
Both schools are going to increase the cost of their school lunch programs for non-subsidized students to be in compliance with federal regulations. Basically, as I take it, we're charging $3. The feds reimburse at $3.56. We're supposed to be charging the same, but there's also a clause that says you can't go up more than 10%, 10 cents per year. So they're going up the maximum, the 10%, 10 cents for both schools. They also made mention that August 7th will be their meeting for the first one of the next school year. So that's PES. PRHS was on the following day on 6/6. And the student report was, there was no one present for that, probably because they just graduated or something foolish like that. They had a number of underclass awards. They had their graduation event go on well. They had 2,000 people roughly. Let's see. They're coming up with a new policy about cell phone use in study halls. Basically, you can use them, but you can't make any phone calls. I guess it's pretty disruptive. They also made mention that faculty are not allowed to use their phones in class for personal purposes, which kind of makes sense, but they must have had something happen where people were using it for non-business related purpose in class. So they mentioned also, and this was a fairly short meeting, the end of year fund balance. They had 1.22 million. They had a small revenue above budget. So they project using $306K to retain in their fund balance, and the $900K to offset taxes.
Wow.
Of course, that $900K at the high school doesn't help Plymouth exclusively. It's spread
No,
around.
but we're 40% of that or something.
They talked about their summer retreat, which is proposed for the 18th of, I'm thinking I didn't get the month. I think it was August, but it might be July at 2 p.m. I'll have to get clarification on that. People from the public can come.
Have they talked to us about having PBTV there?
Not that I'm aware of, but I can check.
That would tell us which month for sure.
They do that off-site. They do that up in Whitefield, correct?
I think that, if I recall,
Might have an answer.
Yeah, I was at that last meeting. It was July.
Okay,
They were gonna
thanks.
I don't think we've done it in the past, but it's something that we certainly could do if they wanted us to.
I think they mentioned that they could make it, because one of the board members couldn't be there, so they offered Zoom option to him.
Interesting.
So if it's available for the board members to come via Zoom, I think it's reasonable to believe that the public should be able to join the same thing.
Well, the public has the right to join it because it's a public meeting.
Yeah, it's absolutely, it's a public meeting.
Awkwardly, the fact that they're doing it out of town technically means that they have to offer transportation.
I don't know if they're doing it, I don't remember if they said it was going to be out of town, but you know how they are at the high school one is like,
And admittedly, that's why I'm pushing on this particular topic. I think it's a little awkward that they do an off-site retreat in terms of,
I can follow up and see if I can
But-
get some of those details.
at least having a, if we the public had a video camera there, at least we would feel maybe more attached to what was going on. Anyway, not technically our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
It's me commenting as the public more than my particular role here.
that concludes the school reports.
Thank you. Any
And
questions
seeing-
for Ted?
Seeing how I'm next for Conservation Commission, there is a meeting
Keep going.
next week
Keep on keeping on.
on the 20th at 7 p.m. Right here. If you're interested, come.
It's not this week?
No,
And
on the calendar.
Scott gave the update on capital improvement. LRPC annual meetings in 2 weeks.
And it's executive committee, I'm going to be here. And the executive commission is going to be meeting on this Wednesday. So, but I'm going to be covering for you on the 26th.
Yes. Thank you. Parks and Rec?
There is no meeting until later this summer.
Okay. Parking.
Nope, nothing until.
When are we
Nothing
gonna
until
get
something.
those electric charging stations?
You know, that question's come up a couple times. And I don't know where it was left off last
Oh,
time.
she has an answer.
Yep.
Grace?
So PSU is working on a federal grant to do 2 sites in town.
Over
Are those-
here- well,
are
no,
those
I
in
was just gonna
addition to
say
the
they're
ones-
over here in Silver Hall lots, and they will be available to the public to use as of now.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Because they talked about, what's that, Green Street right there?
Yeah, but the problem is, we would have had to sacrifice a couple,
Some
I can't talk
parking.
them out of that area, to try and sacrifice a couple of town parking spots, and
Right?
I said, you can talk to the town, but I know there's a parking problem. So, yeah.
Scott, did you say they're already in?
What's that?
Did you say they're in? No.
Yours?
No, they're not in, but
Okay.
they're going for the federal grant, and they'll be
Okay.
over in the Silver Hall lots for use.
Okay, I guess it was a couple of grants, and there are some charging stations across the river at the utility building over there that are theoretically available for, public,
Yes.
but they're not high speed. So you have to
You
have
have
your
to
car
park for a while.
Yeah.
I thought they were putting some in at the lot off of Green Street, though.
So that
Court
money
Street,
fell
rather.
through for Plymouth. That's what I'm hearing.
Oh,
There's
okay.
Norwich
Right.
EV.
Norwich EV, yeah, and if,
It was through the Volkswagen mitigation fund.
yeah, so that fell through?
That's what I'm hearing.
Okay.
And there is a grant that Brian Eisenhower put in, that first grant
Yes.
for charging stations and EV. And the charging stations will be located theoretically at MVSB, or MVSB, the bank.
Yeah, I know what you meant.
Yeah, thank you. And that's theoretically going to be for public use as well. And Brian was
Northway
saying
Bank.
it's like a push me, pull you too.
Or,
Like
or
the-
at Mid-State?
No, what's the bank, where, the bank that they own? The corner of like
Who owns?
PSU.
Oh,
Citizens?
that's First New Hampshire
Citizens, yeah.
Citizens Bank.
Yeah.
I didn't know what you meant. I thought you meant something different.
Okay, well, there might be that too, but,
Well, if people are gonna have electric cars, they gotta have a place to charge them.
well, they're also putting in for electric vehicles for transportation around town, to offer for community use, but
Will they be advertising on the highway like you sometimes see?
I don't think so.
Huh.
No, that was kind
People
of
come
one of
wandering
the
in, run out
selling
of juice.
points.
Of the Norwich ones.
Right.
Right, Neil.
Well,
I always worry about
We'll
those
see.
wheelchairs
Yeah,
that I
most
see
people
going up the
probably
hill.
find those
I always hope they-
Right, good point.
Yeah.
At which point they would show up.
Right.
so am I doing energy?
Yeah, let's move on to energy.
I'd like to pawn it off onto Grace. The meeting itself, I
Nice when
actually,
Grace shows up. She
Yeah.
yeah, I missed the majority of the meeting,
Showed
so.
up for the signing of the Apple
But you
voting
stayed.
documents, just so I could clap. I thought clapping was appropriate. We
Always appropriate. I'll take clapping anytime.
For the purpose of the record, it's Grace Garvey, Chair of the Energy Commission. So we had a meeting a couple weeks ago. We're still doing some strategic planning. Really, that's where we are right now. Don't have any projects in the queue except to sort of chart a map forward. Do you have anything else?
Well, is
Oh.
that the parade thing that?
Sorry?
The parade, is that premature, or,
We talked about that last time we were here.
oh, that's right, I wasn't here.
It was the letter that Zach signed.
Yes.
Oh, never
for
mind.
the EEGBG grant
Right.
Yep.
scoping letter.
Well, the CDBG grant was for what?
CBG, the EEGB grant.
CDBG?
It's for potentially another solar array somewhere in town.
Right. That's,
And we're teaming with Paray and Holderness, the town of Holderness,
all right.
and Ashland perhaps.
This is what happens when you miss meetings.
Maybe we should have
How'd I do,
written back
Bill?
Minutes, I guess. I don't
It
know.
is in the minutes.
Yep.
The EECBG.
Yes, EEC, I always. For that stuff.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We signed a thing.
I should have watched the show.
Anything else on Energy Commission or questions for either Bill or Grace?
Not from me.
Advisory Budget Committee, I think met while I was gone, and I need to get their next meeting date.
Don't have one yet.
They don't have one scheduled yet. Economic Development, no news on that.
Nope.
PSU, no news on that. Chamber of
They
Commerce,
missed their last meeting.
all right, so no news on that. Perlac,
We're taking water samples tomorrow at 8 o'clock on the, we do this
Oh,
like.
tomorrow.
Yeah, it's tomorrow. Yeah, I sent an email.
What?
up.
I'm sorry, I'd
I
like
know,
to
I
do
know.
it.
And one of our helpers, we generally do like 3 people to haul the water up and test it for several parameters. And we have at least 4 stations in the northern Pemmy and 5 in South Pemmy. And it's myself and Neil could join us if you felt like it.
Yeah, but I already got promised.
But 8 o'clock, the Senzo Bridge, we start like doing the
You're gonna be
first of 4.
testing for salinity and conductivity?
Yeah, yeah, and temperature and, no,
No?
but yeah, with this oxygen, all sorts of things. So we've been trying to do that. Unfortunately, we're gonna be like 2 people down tomorrow morning, so it might just be me. If anyone wants to haul water, let me know. Could I?
You want me to tell them some of it?
Oh, okay.
Well,
I was gonna stray to some other thing, but
the Owl's Nest Golf Course owns the North Ashland Golf Course.
yeah.
What do they call it?
Oh.
I don't play golf.
White Mountain Country.
White Mountain.
Yeah.
yeah.
Mountain Country Club.
But anyways, they came to us with 3 permit applications. They want a minor wetlands impact application. They want an alteration of terrain permit, and they want a shoreland impact permit. They want to put in a well field, and they're going to do 1 million square feet of upgrades on the golf course, and they want to build a trout pond. So that's
You missed the vineyard.
extensive.
The vineyard as well.
That's extensive work.
Yep.
And
Really?
they're probably going to want to sell a lot of condos or something. But then our river management plan is 75% complete, and the threats of concern are lack of stormwater infrastructure, steep slope ordinances and encroachments on steep slopes, shoreland ordinances and overlay maps, floodplain overlay maps, high water withdrawals, people that are just plain taking too much water, and quantity and quality, and sources of pollutant discharges. And we're looking at new sites to do water testing for VRAP. And at the end of the meeting, we had a discussion about rock snot. I guess they call it Didmo.
They call it?
I have no idea.
It's not good. And then Japanese knotweed and Oriental bittersweet, and how municipal code enforcement is going to deal with it. and managing river access and trash.
Oh, crap.
That's it. Was there anything I missed?
No, I gotta do the river access thing. I was gonna approach Fish and Game. Or, no, I was
River
gonna put a
access.
bill in, actually.
Management of river access and trash. And that's all gonna be in our river management plan when it's completed.
Well, you mentioned the
We
river
haven't
access.
had one in almost 20 years, right?
No one's assuming basically ownership for all the river access
That's private
places.
property in places.
Generally, it's not. If it's an access point, that Fish and Game was, yeah, of course, a private thing could have river access too, but Fish and Game has identified all these river access things on all rivers in the
There's
state.
so many people using the Pemmy River now, and the Baker too.
And what happens is these access points aren't maintained, or not necessarily maintained. And Mooney Clark or whatever down in New Hampton is an example of an access point that is starting to have like not mass wasting, but it's got like erosion and silt is going down in the river. The river itself has a couple of issues with like invasives and iron, pipes, rods that are sticking out when you put your boat in, and so Fish and Game, I was on a conversation like a couple of years ago. They denied access to, or their authority to maintain the sites, even though it was established by Fish and Game. They deferred to the town. They said the town shall maintain these access points.
But nobody's doing it.
And at the time, Nick Coates was the town manager for Bristol, and he just buffed it up to his lawyer, and that's the last we heard of it. But it would be nice if
It's
Fish
right
and
next to
Game,
the bridge on 104.
it'd be nice if Fish and Game was actually tasked with the authority and the ability to maintain all these river
They've
access
got a tight
sites.
budget. They don't have enough people.
Are
They're
you
out there
arguing
rescuing
against
climbers
the
every
bill
day.
that I'm putting in? Hey, wait a
The
minute.
towns, they have infinite budget in all the budgets, so the towns should
Are you done?
Joe, did you have a comment?
The highway just did a project with the state. We had to establish a sightline visibility for the new road down to the skate park. And so we had to deal with that knotweed.
Oh, yeah.
They set us up with a new program that they just started doing. So we just laid down a whole bunch of this
I saw it.
great, it's like it rolled out like a really tight meshing. So if you wanna check that out.
I saw it.
So actually what it's supposed to do is the knotweed's supposed to try to grow up through it, and what happens is it chokes itself out because it can't go through and eventually dies. But you're not supposed to cover it, you're not supposed to do anything, just let it do its thing.
Interesting.
Fun to watch.
Yeah, so I thought I'd share that with you.
Yeah.
It's been a nightmare.
The state lucked out. We get
Frank?
We're doing the same thing, we're using landscape cloth, it's a porous plastic, put double layer on an area, and it allows water to go through it, but nothing will grow up. And if you go over like 2 or 3 years where the growing cycle has been shunted, the plant root dies, and so we're trying to do the same thing with the water, not weed down Route 3.
Good.
kind of working, because that was horrible there for a while.
Yeah. We tried chemicals, we tried cutting it,
Ooh.
unless you pull the roots out. But the landscape cloth or that other system that the state's using, that's very effective.
You had a
Yeah.
offhanded comment?
Yep. So I received an email from Larry Spencer earlier today, and I believe I forwarded it to you as well, but he forwarded this thing, Lisa Donor was copied on it, and it was regarding the Oxbow project so anyway, let me just, could I read it?
Yeah, please.
So Larry states, Lisa and I ran into an unsolvable situation with respect to the LWCF grant proposal that was going to be funding that Oxbow. So we decided instead to follow up on a land conservation and heritage investment program grant. That proposal is due the 22nd, of June, and we are well on our way to getting everything into the grant website. I have attached the general statement of purpose and hope you will share that with the Plymouth Select Board and the Pemmy River LAC. If successful, we will know outcome by November of this year with grant funds to follow in June of 2024. And the statement that, he didn't really attach it, but he just like put it on a place on the web, on the email. Our proposal has 3 goals: to protect the area for public use, to provide the Plymouth area community with open space for recreation, and to maintain and enhance the area's natural features. Overall, we seek to protect a valuable ecosystem currently held by multiple private entities while allowing for public access and use. Desired outcomes include protection in perpetuity for public access, management of invasive species, biodiversity, and ecological integrity. The natural environment contains river frontage, a large natural beach with turtle nesting, riverine and floodplain forest, oxbows and creeks, mowed fields with extensive viewscapes, meadow reverting to forest, and an active eagle nest, Slante Larry. So I responded saying, do you want us to write a letter in support of this? And also, ultimately, the Pemmy River LAC. And unfortunately, the Pemmy River LAC doesn't meet until the last Tuesday of June, which is too late. So maybe if you can give me permission to write the letter, if Larry actually gets back and says he wants a letter of support, I can just shoot it to him. I mean, it's just going to be probably the same letter that we,
Effectively the same letter when we supported the previous grant.
So we should
Motion on
vote to
that?
authorize Bill to write the letter if necessary.
That sounds like a motion.
Got a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
Thank you. That's a
Thank you.
good catch.
Yeah.
Police and Fire Building Assessment Committee?
We haven't gotten the report back from the Turner Group yet.
Okay. Oh, do you know when we're expecting that?
Turner,
By the end of this month.
is that Turner
coming soon.
Engineering?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Any public comments? Hey, I'm gonna
Nice clapping.
I'm gonna apologize for my yawning and low energy, but I got back from Greece yesterday. It is currently 2:37 a.m. in my brain.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And so no public comments.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Welcome to 2:30 in the morning.
What I felt I had.